Man, the front door. We're gonna give everybody a few minutes to get synced in here. All right, cool. If you can let some people in, I'll tag them on the Facebook group as well. But top of the hour, man, we're gonna get kicked off. I want to be respectful to everybody's time here. And so thank you for people that are joining. And yeah, all right, so cool. You got the controller and can let them in. All right. So we got somebody from Kansas today. I always love it when we have people in my own state or my own backyard. We got Bill Brown. And so you never know who you're gonna meet and how you're gonna meet them and how things end up working out. I knew I'm not gonna say his name, but a highly respectful team in Kansas City that, when I got in the industry, I've watched him do phenomenal things over the years. And also got introduced to him and other masterminds down in Texas, and we stayed in contact. I got a lot of love for the guy, and he introduced me to Bill when I was trying to get a deal done with him, and I was hounding him for years to jump over. I don't know, my first couple of years when I joined EXP, I just hit my 5th year. And but I know that guy for about 10 years or something like that. And I don't know how long you've known him. I'd be interested to know that. But he was crushing it, running a team up in Kansas City and on the radio, running, listings, buyer agents, and just doing his thing. And shortly after we got the deal done, he introduced me to Bill. And then, we went up to Kansas City. For the people who have been around, Trent was still around. Trent was still alive before.
Yeah, he was.
That was the last trip that he made. That's when I caught wind that he was sick, because when we were driving in the car, every bump, and he didn't even really stay out that late after dinner. That was when I first knew he was getting sick. Because I was like, "You're not right." And he's like, "Oh, it's a gallbladder, but man, cancer sucks." But yeah, so Trent was with me that trip thinking about it. And then we get back home, and then shortly after you end up joining EXP. So you've been here a long time, man, probably about 4 years, maybe.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Mm-hmm.
4 years, man. And as I've got to know you and your wife, you guys are quietly killing it in the entrepreneur space, not even just real estate. Like, your wife does a bunch of amazing stuff. I mean, she's 5 foot nothing, and she's a dynamite, right? And it's you're quietly, humbly crushing it. And so I thought that this would be a good week for you to come on. And so, tell your story. I know you've been in real estate a long time, and then you've kind of pivoted in and out of different niches inside of real estate, dabbling in the residential side, doing stuff in the commercial side right now. And so how can we transition into maybe doing more real estate deals? How did you break into it? What's your story? And what can we, take away in this market of the one thing that has you frequently doing deals? And then I know that you and I were talking about some of your other businesses or your background, but it's all connected back to the real estate space. And I think that, just from an entrepreneur perspective, give us some tips and nuggets that we could take away. So we're maybe not in competition with everybody, but we're in that financial alignment that you had mentioned right before we went live. I'm going to give it to Bill. I'm going to go sit down, Bill. I'm going to take a seat, and then I'll hop in as needed. Let me know if you got any questions, guys in the crowd or whatever. Bill's, we really don't have, we'll just say, a presentation for you. Me and him just wanted to hop on here and kind of freestyle, but I'm going to let him tell a story and see if he can drop some nuggets along the way. But it's all yours, Bill.
All right, Adam. Thank you so much and appreciate it. And hey, everybody. Hopefully we can give you a little bit of something to just kind of give you some direction on maybe some steps you might be thinking about doing. So, I think what I want to start with is if you ask me something I've learned in life is I've been self-employed since I was 24 years old. I'm 52 now. And I hear people talk about, hey man, are you killing it in business? Yeah, I'm killing it in business, all this stuff. But I take a different look at that. And this is what I tell people. I'm killing it in life, because if I'm killing it in life, then that's all going to overflow to my business or to my beliefs and where we are spiritually and stuff too. So that's where I like to to really focus my attention on what I'm doing. And then that way the people I'm around, it's an attraction. So EXP is all about, this whole thing is just agent attraction, right? And a lot of things. And so be somebody that people attract to, not just because I've got a lot of friends who are awesome at their businesses and they're constantly trying to work to keep that going. But I tell you, I would not trade places with them anytime, anyway, for any amount of money. And so if you can be somebody that is just killing it in life, you'll be somebody that people attract to just because of that. So I don't want to get completely off of that, but I think it's a huge part of kind of where we lead into.
Yeah. I love that you mentioned that, Bill, and I'm gonna hop in here before you kind of get in your story. It really goes back to, I was talking to someone, this was like 4 months ago, and they're like, how do you like do what you're doing with attraction? And they get some checklist or lead source, or it's just something hidden that I'm not telling them. And I can remember a long time ago that a gentleman told me, it's like, if you want to attract good workers and good people into your life, you have to be living a good life and be attractive to those type of things, whether it's lifestyle, finances, health, maybe business, right? Maybe being a better father, husband, the spiritual side that you had mentioned. And so that's absolutely right. Like killing it in life, and you don't kill it in life financially early on. Well, you got in business when you were 24. That's about what I did. Start selling insurance at, anywhere 20 to 24, buying Salvation Army clothes, rolling around in a hoopty, but I was happy as hell, right? I was enthusiastic, and it wasn't about the money. And so it was about the adventure and the journey. And so I love that. So kill it in life, man. If you want to be, more attracting, become more attractive, and whatever you're doing in life, not just on the real estate side of stuff. So I love that.
Yeah, and Adam, I'll just throw a real quick thing onto that is, like people a lot of times will ask me, man, gosh, why are you so happy all the time, or what it is? But I don't let circumstances define how I'm going to respond in my day. We always have a saying is the power is always in the responder. And so my thing is how are you responding to your work? How do you respond to problems that come at you? How do you respond to these things? And so when your feet hit the floor in the morning, you need to wake up, and some people wake up and they can't wait to get to work. I just can't wait to wake up and then to see what my day has for me. So I'm going to do those things because I'm driven to do those things. But I'm also going to make sure is what we're going to talk about today is before you step out into another adventure, another thing that diversifies you, make sure that you're building on a solid foundation, that you're not going to just throw something on top that's going to cause everything to crumble. So that's why I think it's important, Adam, is, man, we have so much to be blessed for in our life. And we have, it's a choice that we get to choose. Life doesn't happen to us, it happens for us. And so we choose that on how we decide to move forward. And then that way, when you go meet clients or you meet people that you want to bring into your business and stuff, man, it's all good. It's all good. And so I think if you're good, Adam, I'll lead into a little bit here. So
yeah, I always love that, man. That and I heard that Tony Robbins a few years ago say that. And so whenever I'm like stuck, making a tough decision, or I don't call problems anymore. I call them opportunities. And it's like the way that I talk to myself is the way that I feel. And it's like life isn't happening to us, and it doesn't care about Adam Bailey. It's happening for us. And it's like we got to ride the waves and surf it, right? And it's like we'll catch the next wave. It could be good one day or 1 month and be bad the next. And so I love that. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, and when you look at things and you talk about people saying, hey, we go on mountain highs and then we go down into valleys. And if you look at the real estate market in general, what do you see most people's business do? It's going highs and then in valleys. And so how I look at things is like this is when you go through a valley, you're gathering. And I'll give you a really quick example of something. So for most of the people that don't know me on this is my wife is from Sicily, Italy. And we've been married 25 years this year. And so we have a place in Italy that we go to every year, and we spend time there. We recharge and we enjoy. But one of the really cool things is, so our house is by the beach. And if you know anything about Sicily, is there's mountains on one side of our house, and then there's the beach on the other side of the house. And so, but when there's fires up in the mountain, the how they put those fires out is the planes. They bring these planes in and they come down into the valleys and they gather this water. And when they gather this water, they have to pick that up and then they take it up to the top of the mountain and then they spread it out over that fire and they spread it out and it causes good things to grow. And when you look at fires, they're just there, but what happens after a fire? New foliage starts to regrow and new things come at it and stuff too. So I was looking at that one day watching that airplane, and so it came to me like, it's like, man, Bill, when you're going through these valleys, don't look at them as bad things. We have to go through valleys and we start picking up that water, that knowledge, that learning. And then when we get that, we'll start to rise up to the mountaintops. And when we get it, we don't just keep it to ourselves, we spread it out. And that becomes what we do. And because once you hit a peak in your business, you're always heading back probably to another valley, right? So just accept it and learn from it. And don't look at it as, hey, it's a bad thing. Just look at it as, hey, I'm going to learn through this and I'm going to keep my mind open to the opportunities. And so if you guys probably read a little bit of my bio, is when I was 24, I had an opportunity to buy into, I'd been practicing in martial arts. I had an opportunity to buy a martial arts school and I loved it. It was something I did 6 days a week. And I bought one and it was really small. We only had like, excuse me for that. We only had like probably 25 students in there. But at 24 years old, I knew one thing is I was really good at martial arts. And so I believed in myself, and it's amazing how that takes over in the rest of my life for a lot of things. But I bought this and I just thought, hey, this is something I love to do. Surely if I invest time into myself and to helping people, then I could be successful at this. So I wrote out a pro forma. I went to the bank and I told them, I said, hey, look, I'm going to do this. I know I got 25 students, but I promise you at the end of the year, I'm going to have over 100 students. And so not only by the end of the year did we have 115 new students at 24 years old, but at the same time, I also had opened up a second location. And I saw the advantage of knowing numbers and factoring that in to see it. I thought, man, if I can do this here, why can't I do it over here? And so, but my thing was not to ever start something new for more money. It was, I saw a need for something. And so I fulfilled that need. I had students that were driving from far enough. I had people that were driving 40, 50 miles just to come to my location. And so I saw a need in certain towns that weren't providing a service. And so once I saw that, I said, okay, how can we fill this need? And then we did. And then we did that. And then sooner or later, we had 3 locations running. So we kept those for 22 years until we decided to sell them in 2015. And so, but one of the things in that business that I learned that it has really played over to me to real estate has been this, because those businesses were the same thing as real estate is. It's all relational. And if you're good at relationships and you can find that and help people and serve people in the right way, there's nothing that really holds you back. So, but one of the things that I saw in our business for years that I struggled to figure out until one day is it was just like real estate. It was like we have strong markets and then summertime comes or whatever, and then those markets dive. And what I would notice is not only myself, but people around me, I would see all this marketing just kind of disappear when things were slow. And so what we said is how can we add programs? What programs can we add that are strong in those weak times of the year? And so we found other programs that we could add that married what we were doing. So we weren't trying to go off the beaten path and start something completely different, another business, another job. We said, what could marry this? And we could gain students from that program and vice versa. And so what we did is we started adding these programs. And the next thing we know, we started seeing stability throughout our year. So while other people were struggling to have the marketing dollars to keep spending to compete against us, we were strong year round and we were seeing continued growth. And so we were just killing it in so many avenues. And I would literally not have competitors come into our community for a long time because they were afraid to step off against us. And so we just really did a good job at knowing that. And so diversifying allowed us to keep pushing forward consistently, right? We weren't getting all wrapped up in, hey man, it's down times. And I do professional real estate photography right now too. And one of the things I catch from a lot of agents is, man, Bill, it's just down right now. My listings are down, everything's down, and they're trying to crush it and kill it for these things. But it's just something that happens in our market. So, but one thing I can tell you is this: is before when you want to look off and how do you break into like commercial real estate or another thing that has to do with what you're doing, is you need to decide what your goals are and why. Why is it that you want to do that? A guy told me one time when I had my martial arts schools, he says, Bill, never do these things. Never start another location for more money. Do it because you have a talent or need, or you see an opening to either get more people out to serve people, or what it is in there. So I never really look at starting another business just for money. I watch and see if there's a need in there, a place I can fit myself into that. And so my things is like one of the biggest mistakes I see agents do is they try to figure out who they want to be in real estate, right? And so they're bouncing around, or maybe not just in real estate, in all businesses, but the key is you should always know who you are, right? And then you can look at a market or industry and then see where the opportunity is for you to slide who you are into that. So when I look at things, when I looked at commercial real estate, I looked and said, hey, in my community, where is there something lacking at? What am I seeing here? What is the need? And so I just kind of realized I started investigating it more. And I had done a few transactions in the past, but to be honest with, I had my mind kind of set on, I'm a residential real estate guy, and this is what I'm doing. I'm buying a few properties, but I wasn't like getting into big warehouse space or anything like that. But what I noticed is like, I noticed that a lot of these people that own these bigger buildings or stuff like this is sometimes they have way more space than they need. They've got their business all spread out in these things. And for our community is there was not a lot of places. Like over the last couple of years, contractors have really grown, and they may not know it because they're too busy focused on working in their business, that they're not really looking at how do they prosper in the years ahead. And so I just looked and said, man, there's a lot of places that we are not able to lease out, or there's opportunity here, how I could slide in. So one of the things I kind of started doing is I didn't really have any buyers or sellers at the time, but I knew people that were contractors. So I figured, hey, these people could always be buyers. If their business is good, how can I help them? And so I just started going to some of these locations, and I would talk to the owners. I say, hey man, I said, how's your business doing over here, and the things that are going on today. And I would ask them and find out what struggles they were dealing with their space. And so how were they utilizing their space? And, some people would be like, well, what are you getting at? Are you trying to sell me on something or what? And I'm like, no, I'd say, one thing, the biggest thing about our community is there's guys out there needing spaces to lease. And I'm just talking to you to see if you're utilizing your space correctly. And if there's something I could help you with that. So if your business is down low right now, what if I could help you look at a way to lease out 2,000-3,000 square feet of it, and I could find somebody to bring in here and then give you some permanent extra income per month, right? And so by doing this and trying to look and say, hey, I just want to be a helpful tool for you and see if there's something I can do, then what I would do is if they would say, yeah, I'm open to that. Then I would go start trying to find contractors that I knew or people I knew and say, hey, are you guys looking to expand, or you guys looking for other space? And then I could just go try to find buyers and look for this. So I just, one of the things that I know about myself is this. If you ask me who I am, is I'm a guy who can look at a thing and I can look at problems, and I like to come up with solutions. And so I like to look at that opportunity and say, hey man, I can find a solution to people, and even when they don't even know problems. And so when you go to talk to people or commercial people or agents or even clients, is sometimes, and you might relate to this, sometimes we feel we're there to prove ourselves or to dump everything about real estate onto them, but it's really about asking questions. If I can ask the right questions and to people, then I can sometimes open up what their struggles are, or maybe not, what it is that they're dealing with in their business and stuff. And so, being in business, I love business. I like to look at it, and it's cool because homes a lot of times have emotions attached to them, but businesses don't always do that. If their business is struggling, there might be an emotion attached to it. But usually if you can put numbers together and show them on paper, like, hey, this makes sense for your business. Have you even thought about this? Then you can present that to people, because most businesses want to increase their income, or they want to lower their cost, or what is it that they're looking at. And so it's really not hard. There's papers out there, there's worksheets out there that you can use, and I'll kind of explain some of this a little bit later, that you can use to kind of help you out if you're trying to break into this market. So for me, getting into commercial real estate was this: is I wanted to add some diversity, like I did in our martial arts businesses we had. So as I saw that, hey, it was always like, man, what's the residential market doing? What's the residential market doing? Sometimes the commercial will follow that, but sometimes it's running strong. This last couple of years, warehouse space has been just great. Interest rates went up, which made it difficult a little bit to have a 7-8% interest rate for people to buy and then get tenants that were paying enough to cover that. But it still is, there's a lot of investors out there that need to move their money. So for me, when I got into commercial real estate, when we talk about winning in life, for me is everybody's probably heard this, but I think when I got into real estate or even business stuff, a lot of times I built my business, I built my family around my business. And so today I build my business around my family. So it's not worth it for me to go chase all this stuff and then to have my family get crushed and fall away. And we won't know that till it's too late, because when we're driven, we just look at, man, I can do this, and we keep pushing, and then something has to give. So I was just I just thought, if I could do 50% of my business in commercial and 50% in residential, I felt like it was a good blend for me, and I would enjoy that part, and it gives me some diversity to look at. If your goal is to be the number one residential realtor in your area, then my suggestion to you is, don't start anything new. Be at that and be great at it. But if you're looking to say, hey, how can I diversify myself in an industry that I'm already attached to, then this might be something you might look at. And but it's gonna have a learning curve like anything else. So one of the things I can tell you is when you're starting to look at breaking into the commercial real estate or anything, is think of it like the 80-20 rule. Once your commercial real estate starts to, if your residential is 80% or it's 100%, whatever it is, start with one day of giving to commercial real estate. If you try to jump in and say, man, commercial real estate looks good. Like when I saw that I could make 60, 80, 100,000 a transaction instead of 10,000 a transaction, I was like, holy smokes, this is good. I did 5 transactions just between October and December, and each one paying commissions like that. And so, but it's a lot of work. You may not get a 30-day close on a commercial transaction. You may get a 6-month close. You may get a 1-year close. So you need to be also able to be in it for the long haul for those things. But I would say take one day a week and apply it to commercial. And the best way you have to start is first you got to start learning that language. If you don't know anything about it, you need to start learning the language. It's like going to another country. you got to learn that language. So when you speak it, you don't sound, off, or you can have a conversation with other realtors or investors. So, and then what you need to do is you take that and you can start, adding to that. And then once you see your business start to grow and to where you want, then if you're trying to make a complete transition, like I've had friends that say, hey, I don't want to do residential anymore. I just want to focus on commercial. Do like I tell you, and do it for 1 day a week, do it for 60, 90 days, and then see where you're at and see if you can build that amount up. But if you try to jump into commercial real estate, and trust me, I did this in our other businesses. When martial arts, we were doing martial arts and MMA came big. I mean, I boxed, I did jujitsu, I did all these things, but I thought, man, MMA is a great place. I love it, but it crushed my business. I had to redo things and start back over because I was applying all this effort to that. So if you just jump over to commercial real estate and say, I'm just going to run on it, you're going to end up losing some residential business that's going to make it really difficult on you. So if you can keep it slow and surely, you'll get a win. You'll get a win. Just add it and then take it and build on it as it keeps coming. Like we said, understand the language. There's many things you can get out there and to learn what triple net leases are, learn what is a capitalization rate. I will tell you, one of the tools that I added to commercial real estate was just a simple worksheet that I could fill in and add my numbers to. So when somebody'd say, hey, Bill, I'm wanting to buy a building. What do you think that building's actually worth? Well, like commercial, you're going to look at and say, I've sold commercial buildings at as low as a 5% capitalization rate. So, and a capitalization rate is just your capital. Really, it's after your expenses on what you're doing too. So it's your net operating income is what it is. And so if you have a sheet that you can just plug in a purchase price, find out expenses on what are the expenses. So like, I'll give you an example here right quick. I had a guy call me the other day, says, hey, Bill, I'm interested. It was actually an agent. An agent called me and says, Bill, you know what? I know nothing about commercial real estate, but I know you do. And so would you be willing to take one of my clients for me? And I'm like, yeah, absolutely, I'll do it. And I'll give you a referral on it from afterwards when it's done. So, but this guy, he was looking to purchase this building. He says, Bill, I have no idea where to start. What's the value of it and everything? And I said, well, okay, if you can do me some homework, find out what the expenses are that the people have, that the owner has there. What are the fixed expenses that they have in that? And then we had an idea of what they were asking. And so then I could go in and I could type all this information in. And I know that investors really want, on the low side, what they really are, 6% they will deal with a lot of times. Big investors want a 10% return on stuff. So they like to have a cap rate at 10%, but that's not, those deals are far and in between a lot of times. So if you can find somewhere 6 to 8%, then that'll give you an idea and say, hey, if they want $1.2 million for this property, for me to get you a 7-8% cap rate, then they're going to have to be, at $900,000 for this property. So this is what this is what we could offer, or we need to go find another property. So just a little simple tool like that helps you to kind of be in that game of understanding a few things. If you're going on a listing appointment and somebody wants to list a property, that buyers and investors are going to be looking for a certain cap rate. So now you can take that listing appointments, expenses and stuff, and you can add in all the expenses, and then you can do a process elimination and figure out what a great listing price should be for you to be in that market. This is just a great way of starting. As you get better, there'll be other avenues for you to do, but it's kind of like cap rates are big things that people look at a lot and where they're starting out at. So it'll get you in the game. If you need that, I can upload what I use for one, maybe with Adam or something on our Facebook page too.
Yeah, I love it. And that's what streaming inside the group, I said I'd ask for it for sure. If you can, just send it to Sarah. She'll forward it to me. And pretty sure I know what you're looking at. I mean, and so simplifying it, to negotiate with the purchase price because of the cap rate, right? Like that's a big thing that they look at. And one of my other buddies, he's big into that. And I was on the phone with him yesterday, and he was like, we were talking about commercial real estate, and he was like, yeah, these guys are at 5.5 cap rate. With insurance went up across the board in the nation, right? Like inflation,
Yeah.
everything. But insurance really had went up, if you guys have noticed that. And he was talking about that killing the people with cap rate about 5.5, and he's like, he telling me about a deal he turned down. He's like, I needed above this price. And he's like, I just couldn't put my money in it. And he's like, it doesn't matter the purchase price to them. It comes all back down to that cap rate. So I love that, being able to use it as leverage. And so, if get that to Sarah, we'll get that submitted back. So you gave a lot of great nuggets here. I know we're halfway through it. So let's kind of take a moment here to recap some of this stuff. Bill just dropped some bombs on you guys. It's like being able to diversify your business is important, not necessarily diversifying outside of the industry, but finding ways to get in alignment within the industry, so then you can offset some of your cost in terms of marketing dollars during the slow season, so you have a competitive advantage. I love that. That's why a lot of guys get set up with lending or title or other things like that, but you took a different approach. I know you haven't mentioned this, but you own, I think you did a minute ago, ownership in the photography company, and some of these other things that like it's all just part of being in the people business. Like when you were like, like just like be excited about life, and we're living life and just crushing life, right? And business comes easily and frequently when you're attracting that way. Like your wife, she is like so energetic and so happy. It's like you guys, I mean, it's like when the guy with the team that I had mentioned, I don't want to say his name, he ended up having some life changes, and he ended up moving away or whatever, and didn't really want to deal with his team. And I didn't think Bill was going to stick around because I didn't have that relationship with you, even though you've been here 4 years. And so people you think that are going to crush it, people that end up not, that's happened in my whole life with hiring agents, partnering with people. And so just getting to know you guys, it's like you're in the people business, you're in the life business. It's like she's even selling like network marketing stuff, I guess is a better way of putting it. I don't know. You guys have sold a lot of products. I mean, I didn't even know you guys 2 months, and you guys had me on a call trying to get me on a call with a billionaire that was literally taking the call. A billionaire, you know what I mean? And like, it's like, okay, like what's going on? But, and then it makes it easier when you can deliver on that brand promise, because your name, your actions, your net results, what you deliver, right, is your guys' brand. And then it helps when you get into these other triangulated businesses that connect back to the industry, or your wife's now in and around the business and all the people and coming and going, and then she's able to build her own little clientele base and her sub brand within the family and stuff like that. And so I love it. And then that just creates that cash flow, and it's like what they say about millionaires. Most millionaires have on average 7 different income streams, right? Multiple income streams, up to 7 of them. So how many do you guys have?
We have 4, Adam. And I think that's a great point that you're saying, because one of the things that always attracted me to EXP was the different revenue streams. And I think what they've done is they've done a great job of how they marry that and kind of try to keep it and say, hey, how can we improve what we're already doing? Right. Mm-hmm. And so, but we do have 4 revenue streams, but I will tell you that each one complements the next. And right. So it's hard. I mean, unless you hire teams of people to run other business that are separate, the best thing you can do. And so I'm going to give you an example right quick of this. And I'm tell you this because it's a way to train your mind to keep your eyes open. And so like I had told you before you jumped on, Adam. So Adam was right. I do have a photography business also. And was I a photographer beforehand? Not really. I knew how to take some pictures, and I had done photos and stuff for martial arts stuff. But my thing was and I think everybody can relate to this, is that there's been so many people get into the real estate market. And like in Kansas City, I think, just a couple of years ago, the fact of it was we had over 14,000 agents and less than 4,000 listings. And so what we would see is like all of the stuff we were advertising for and the more money we were pushing out is it was really helping out some of these new people coming on. And there's nothing wrong with new people coming on. But what I would see is like we would go to houses or we'd go to listing appointments and we'd feel like we walked away and had that thing done. And then they'd say, hey, I've got a family member that has their license and they're going to do it for this price or whatever. Right. And so we've felt that thing of like, man, there's so many people swimming in our industry. How do we really stand out? Well, I just kind of decided one day, I looked at it and I said, hey, okay, Bill, look back on your life and look at the things that you've been through and done. And where is the opening here for me? And is there something I'm not seeing? And so I started looking at my business, at everything that I was doing. And so I looked at the process. And when I say process, I looked at and said, if I'm listing a house, what's one of the things I got to do? I got to call a photographer, right? And so I started looking, I said, man, you know what? My process for the photographer takes time from me. And so, because one of the complaints I always had was, you can tell me if this you or not, but my thing is I would sit down, I'd text the photographer and I'd say, I'd be with a client and I wouldn't know when I could list the property because I didn't know when the photographer could get there. And so I'd text the photographer and say, hey, when can you do pictures for this? And then I may not hear back from him till 6 hours later or whatever. And then by that time, I'm already gone from the house. And so I'm having to go back and forth then with what works.
I love this. And it's like, so you're have you ever read the Rockefeller Habits?
Yeah, I have. Yeah.
And I think it's in this book, if I'm not mistaken, but it's the Rockefellers that wanted to control all of the supply chains back to their business, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so when you're talking about speed to net result and what your brand promise is now with the consumer, and it's up in the air depending on the longevity or the relationship, or it could be a new person, and that's hinging on we'll just say the lifetime value of a client is if you're around 400,000, right? It'd be the average sales price in Kansas City. You're doing right, 400,000. Yeah, so it could be right under $100,000. That if you go off that worksheet that we have in the team mastery call, it could be right around $90,000. That person could blow you the lifetime value of a client, right? And then you being able to, and it's like I got a follow-up question to this. That's why I wanted to interrupt you for a minute, but it's like, so then you're owning or taking over, we'll just say ownership or accountability of the different things that triangulate within this business that affect the driving of the sale of, we'll just say, the listing, right? Or getting it on the market. Now, on all these other businesses, the martial art businesses, the different businesses that, we talked about, are you getting them up and going? And then are you looking at replacing yourself once you get it kind of pumping oil or you got it predictable in some type of manner, so you can then move on to the highest and best use of your time? I can't imagine that you're out there just taking pictures and just going to stay in that position forever, right? It's like, help me understand what you're looking to do in terms of the ownership piece to that.
Sure, Adam. So to be honest with you, so for the last 2 years, we've been doing the photography. And so one thing that I felt was important for that, and is that it's relationship. And so one thing that I have is I've been in real estate for a while, so I have relationships with other realtors, right? So my thing was I wanted to really nurture those relationships and let them know they can trust me in the pictures, also in the photography, and that, hey, the same way I work with you and I co-op with you in real estate, I'm going to co-op this even better, or the same way in photography business. And I want to make we should always figure out how to make a transaction the smoothest between agents. It's not a win-win. It's about how do we, it's a win-win. It's not about I win, you lose, or anything like that. And so So it's not that I want to use agents. It's that I want to help them see how we can make stuff better and easier process in their business also and help them grow. Because one of the things EXP does is it's really about, hey, share your knowledge and do what you do and help others grow. And you'll get the same things that you need back in return. So my thing is the last 2 years, I've been doing this all by myself in the photography. But what we're doing right now is we have hired we have hired a virtual assistant out of the Philippines, and so this is coming out, and so we're interviewing people right now to start doing photography. So it's not a hard thing. The biggest thing in photography is really being able to see the image. And if you can walk in a house and you can see how a room should be set up, we look at pictures all the time, right? So, so
Yeah, but looking at pictures all the time and catching, we'll just say that, little detail.
yeah.
So I love it. My partner that I had the team up there in Toronto with Jarrett, and he's scaling. I think I told you about this before we went live, but a photography company as well. And let me just give you another idea. And I'd like to know how you would tie back into the commercial side. And I want to ask you a question with how you started the conversation and evoke that desire to get them to think in the beginning. I thought that you were like killing it with that. And I want to make sure that I reiterate that or I echo it back. But he is like, dude, he's the same way as you. He's like, look at all of these agents. And he's like, the listings are thinned out. They're listing with their family member or whatever. And he's like, there's so much opportunity here, and it could just help our cash flow or whatever. He's trying to get me in it. And he's like, look at how many agents you have and all this stuff. I'm like, yeah, I don't want a mixed message. And I've done it a little bit here or there, but it's like, I want the 3 or 4 main pillars. And it's like, you start mixing message and it's like, what do you stand for? Right. Unless you've got a really good reputation and a brand and that reach of how we're going wide, not just locally, it's hard to control that. Now, when I'm looking at this, I'll give you an example. I'm like, how are you generating these leads and getting these agents actual phone numbers? I was like, why aren't you calling them to attract them? I'm like, you're over here like running a sales team and it's like you're getting the decision maker on the phone and everything. And he's like, well, it's like you're making. He's like, look how much money I'm making, and the automation piece. And the video piece to it, because he started doing reels with it. And so there's a lot of money in it. And it's like, this is brilliant. But then with me triangulating with him and looking at that, I'm helping him with lead generation. And now I'm starting to get names and numbers of actual team leaders verified, where they work, cell phone numbers, all this stuff for like, I don't know, it's like $2 a lead or something like that. And it's all because I slowed down and I was like, show me this damn photography business. And he'd been talking about it for a year, but come to find out he had been growing this thing and it was way more developed than I thought. And it's like, all right, this is the way you've been doing. And then I dug in, and then it goes back to just helping people. He got stuck on some stuff and I started helping him. And then he's like, man, let me show you something. And then I was like, man, there's gold here. And then so it was a win-win. And and so being able to like look at real estate as a whole, right? Even though I believe having that radical focus and that niche, especially in these times, are so important. But when you've been a seasoned vet and you have the life experience that you have, then that reach across the aisle, as long as it's not stretching you with your core capital, your obligations to your family, your marriage, or being a father, or a distraction from your commitments for whatever you're doing on the residential side of things, then go for it. And I'm always looking at how to replace myself. And so Yep. I'd be willing to spend some time with you and show you what he's kind of been doing and how he's hiring these photographers, and then he's running a whole team in the Philippines, like, I don't know, 20, 30 of them or something. And he's got like one team lead or whatever on each department, like building out assembly line real estate with a team. But I love how it's like, let's differentiate through our photography. Let's like have that we're taking ownership of. And it's not just going to be normal pictures again. It seems like you guys are putting some very unique spin on it. That's your guys.
We are.
Yeah. And I know you guys, you guys do everything like immaculate. So when how do you like, when you go into these commercial buildings, kind of like you fumbled into the conversation really quick, like you're in a store, you're talking to an owner, how do you find these people? And then like, you just like, that one day a week that you're talking about studying, understanding the acronyms, like what's a FISBO, what's expired, what's all these different things that we have in real estate, right? It's like on the commercial side, they have their own foreign language as well that most of the residential agents don't understand that you were speaking about. And so taking that day or that half day a week to understand that stuff, study it. Let's say I think I can handle a little bit of squabbling to get into a situation where I might be able to sit down with a person. And so have you been targeting these people for a while? Is it through your network that you've built up over the years and you know who owns what building? How would you just kind of create that desire to think a little differently to offset cost or to get them to cash flow a little better or to look at something else that you were speaking about?
Yeah. So the thing is like, Adam, I mean, you'll relate to this, and I mean, everybody says it in a lot of stuff, but one of the things you have to do is you have to believe in yourself so much, and you have to speak things into existence, right? So when you're looking at stuff, and once you have a language and you have a thing that you can carry on conversations with people, then you can you'll have a confidence when you speak to people. That it don't matter. I mean, I'm not going to compare myself to some of my friends who've been doing commercial real estate for 30 years.
Right.
I don't look at that as, hey, that's something I want to be. Because sometimes they're stuck in their ways. And it goes to like that 80-20 rule. I don't want to think the same way as 80% of the people, right? So I want to look at a different angle. I want to think like 20% of the people. I want to think like differently, and I want to look at things with a different set of eyes. And so when I try to find somebody to talk to, it's like I acknowledge myself. I say, hey, I'm a commercial real estate broker, right? And so when I have conversations with people, if I'm, you got to know your audience. If I'm at a network marketing group or I'm somewhere, right, and it's business owners, I don't need to speak about residential real estate, right? I mean, you can, because people have homes to sell. But my thing is, it's a great opportunity for me to talk to them for other people that have businesses or things also. So when I walk into a business, so let's just say I don't know all these people. So if I go in, I may take like the Land Glide app, and I find out who owns this building, and I refer it back. And so is it a space that's completely leased out, or is there an owner in the building? So I'll do some research on a building, and I find out, does the owner own the whole building? He has his own space in there, or is he own part of it and he's leasing part of it out? What does that look like? And so if I can find a place where there's an owner, because I'll tell you, I walked into a building and I talked to the guy, says, hey man, I said, I just wanted to talk to you, like I told you, really to see if he needed any help with space or anything like that, or if everything was going great with his business. He says, well, actually, I'm probably going to have to be looking at selling this thing in the next 90 days. And so I said, well, I would, if that's your intent, I would love to set up a time to come back and then really kind of show this. But that led me to listing that property, right? And so we sold that property quickly, and we helped him get out to what his next thing was. But by doing so, then I had that in my pocket. And so what I did it's funny, Adam, but I used my photography skills to take amazing things. I drew out stuff, and I called out other businesses. And then what I did was I took some of this stuff around, and you don't have to be able to do that. You could hire somebody to go do that for you, and then you could but I took some of those pictures around, and I made a flyer, and I took it around and then talked to some other people in that same warehouse industry space to see if they were looking at are they looking at growing their business? Are they looking at staying stable? Is there something we can do for that? We ended up finding a guy that had a 50,000 square foot building. He wanted us to sell it, but not us. He wanted to sell it. He was interviewing people. And the problem was in our community, and this is where I think you have to look at creativity and stuff, is so these other agents were going in to look at this building to sell it and trying to just tell them, well, this is what price we could get for it and to do. I went in and said this. I said, hey man, I said 50,000 square foot building in our community, I can't sell it for you, not at the price that you want to do it. And he's like, why not? He says, these other guys are showing me I can do this. I said, do you realize how much time it's going to take for your building at 50,000 square foot to leave the market? I said, here's what I suggest is, I said, just hang with me here, but you got 50,000 square foot. Why don't we divide this in two? We'll make it into a condo. I said, it just so happened we had two 6,000 square foot vacant spots in each side. And then we had three tenants that were also in there. I said, if you do this, it opens up more avenues for me. I can find a contractor that wants the space to lease. And so what I ended up doing was I ended up getting that. We cut it in half. It was a lot of work. And I suggest that you would call me on a separate note if you ever run across this. But the fact is I got that listing and it was over $3 million that we collected off of that thing. But the fact is I went and I started going out and advertising to people who were looking for space to rent. And then when I would see them, I'd say, hey, your business is growing. I've watched you. I've seen your business out there. What are you doing for an exit plan for your business? And most of them are saying, I don't have an exit plan. And I was like, if I could show you a way to gain ownership and then get your lease for free, I said, it's just like selling duplexes, right? So I found owners that were willing to invest in themselves and say, hey, I can have a 25,000 square foot building with three tenants in there paying for mine. Now I've increased their monthly expense. I've increased their income. And then now I've also given them something to hand down to their kids later on when their business is done. And so I was able to go find these guys to come in and show them. Some guys like, I don't have $150,000 to put down on a building or 200,000. You got SBA, you can do it for 10%. But I mean, I even went as far as said, well, do you have any family members that you're going to be getting inheritance to? And trust me, it worked. I mean, one guy's like, well, my parents is going to give me inheritance. I said, well, maybe they want to give it to you early and let's talk about it and show them the benefits of doing this. And his parents were excited because it was like, hey, we get to throw their inheritance money into an actual physical building and something that's going to help our son grow at the same time. But no, it's going to be invested into a commercial property. He's not just going to go waste it. So it's when I say look at the market, go in and see how you can really help people. I didn't want to go compete against other guys who had been in it and were doing stuff. I thought I'm going to look at it in a whole different perspective. But you have to be willing to go out and just talk to people and to see. And it's hard. I mean, some people are like, hey man, I'm too busy. I ain't got time to talk. But I wasn't trying to get them to list. I was only trying to say, hey, I'm looking for places for people to lease, and I'm just checking with you to see if you have places, are you utilizing your space? Could you use extra income in per month or what? If they said yes, then at the same time, and then I'd go find somebody to lease that space out. Right. And, or then I come out that conversation then turns out that, they're looking to sell and then buy a bigger place, or they're just looking to get out of it. So it's not a secret sauce for anything. It's just really getting out there and believing in yourself. And like what I try to say is look at how you can solve problems that are going on in our community. Is there was no places to buy, there's no places to rent hardly. So business owners were having to go to other communities to have their spot. So I was only trying to go out and pound the sand and say, how can I solve a problem for some people that are looking for places to lease? And so through that, I would take my photography that I would draw up on flyers and I would leave it with them and say, hey, look, I can make your place look great. We can put all these things on here. We're doing this, and this in our photography that nobody else is doing. If and so you can see that we're serious about attracting somebody to your place. You don't have to have that photography part. It's just something I did with it, but
yeah, I like it. It's just creatively thinking. It's just like you don't have to go out and try to raise funds for someone to be able to invest in a percentage of a building neither, right? But then it's like, you're out there doing that just to creatively get the deal done to help other people or to help the community out and creating your own inventory, but maximizing the opportunities in front of you, whether, it's like, doing something maybe you're passionate about that you could do a little bit better than the next person and control some of the brand promising with the time that it takes for the photographer to get out there, the turnaround time with the quality that comes back, and all those different things that you're speaking about. And then it's like you mentioned that, the answer in the question, it's like, I used to go to a lot of networking events, when I was younger and building up. And then as I've got older, and then a lot of people think I'm more extroverted than I really am from my videos, and then just always being on, right? And I really am when I'm out there with the people, but also like I'm a little more introverted than people might think, And so even when I'm at bigger events and I can barely walk a couple feet and people were pulling me, and it's exhausting, right? Like, some people, they can feed off of it, but after so long, it creates maybe some anxiety or just something where I was like, I have to go, kind of spend some time by myself. And I can remember at Select Homes when I was up and coming and young, and I was like, I had the recruiting position, and we didn't have a recruiting broker yet or any of that. And I remember Bob Corcoran told me, I don't know these people. My network is different. I'm younger. I got to go talk to older people. It's like, I don't have anything in common with them. And it's like, I came from poverty. I was like a little street guy, right? It's like, but
Yeah.
but he said, you're overthinking about it. He's like, you just need to talk to people and listen. And then you're a sharp guy. And as you become a little more self-aware, you'll be able to start to see the opportunities or the problems where you are going to have an opportunity to capitalize on helping somebody out. And he said, just do this. He's like, what do you do for lunch? I was like, I go to lunch by myself, or I throttle down, or I try to get quiet time. He's like, no, you need to never eat alone. And it's like, just go to lunch. You're not trying to recruit them. You're not selling them anything like you're talking about. I'm not trying to list this thing right now, right? It's just a casual conversation. You were saying at a networking event or a very passive environment where the conversation is acceptably welcomed, right? For whatever, the norm is or accepted. And so I started going to lunch, and it's like, that was my prospecting calls, getting someone to go to lunch with me every single day. Off of getting someone to go to lunch with me every single day, I learned so much about my business, so much about the people, and then all the other opportunities that was in between the lines that I never seen. And then people got to know me, and then I was able to put more deals together, make more invitations to people to come to, we'll just say, career night or whatever it may be. And so you hit the nail on the head, just getting out here and speaking to more people, right? Your social media post, it's like the people aren't coming to you, all your family members like that were coming before, or your mom's bingo partner knows someone that knows someone. Those days are over. Like, you really are going to have to get out here and demonstrate some leadership and position yourself as the person that can get the deal done. But like you said, I don't want to be those other guys. It's like, if you want to go be the number one commercial person, go find that person to be your mentor, right? It's like, but I'm not trying to do all that, is what you said. Here's what I'm trying to do. I've been in this business a long time, and I'm sharp enough where I can help you, and I can help him, and I can help this other person. And if it all works out, it might help me and Francesca at the end of the day, right? That's her name. Hopefully I didn't mess your wife's name up, but Francesca, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I remember in the beginning I'd say it wrong. So Francesca, sorry, I got it right this time. So yeah. And so it's like, that's how you're going to end up winning, by helping a lot more people with a lot longer cash cycle in this market win. Because it's like, you didn't wake up and say, I'm inspired to do all this. You woke up and was like, what is a problem that I can solve? What am I passionate about that I'm genuinely also happy doing, and doing life with that, right? Because life's happening, for us, not to us. And you've just picked a few things and organically grew into the commercial side. And now it's like, are you working on that side full time? It's like, when's the last time you sold a residential house? And then how can people get a hold of you, man, and take us home? We're at the top of the hour, and I want to be respectful, and you killed it. But I would just maybe answer a few of those questions here. Put a bow on this thing, man. Bring us home.
Sure. Are you want me to answer a question from somebody?
Yeah,
or what?
yeah, man. How much are you doing residential versus commercial right now? And I know you got the photography stuff going, and it's kind of taken off, and it's like you started out with the commercial stuff, and you're easing into it. I remember what kind of spawned you and I even doing this call was like almost like 4 months ago. You know, that's how these conversations happen with people in the background when I invited you to come on here. So where do you see yourself in terms of, you know, percentages of deals, and are you going to move over into that space full time? And then what's the rest of this year look like for you, man? And maybe just any other parting words of wisdom I know that you probably got inside of you, and just close this thing out, man, with your final words. Or how can people get a hold of you if they want to learn more about this? You know, Facebook, Instagram, what's the best way?
Yeah, absolutely. So, hey, I will say this really quick is so I don't try to look and say, hey, I need this many transactions per year, right? So there, when I first started, I was all about transactions and doing that. But my thing is in when I'm doing a transaction, I say, how can I maximize the most return in that transaction? And so when I was in new construction, I did really well because I double sided so many deals. So, but the thing with commercial that intrigued me about commercial is that a lot of people, there's investors out that don't have a specific realtor they work with. And I can tell you about 80% of the commercial deals I double side, right? And because I give them what they're looking for. And so my thing is like if I can, I want to preserve my family. I want to do these things. And so I'm not looking for a new avenue to make extra money and to be more busy. That doesn't solve problems. It creates problems for me because it's going to take away from my daughter, from my wife, and from the things that we want to do. So make sure when you're doing these things, like I say, don't look for just something else to add. There's got to be a reason of why you want to do it, and you'll figure that out. But my thing is if I can do this with commercial real estate, and it gives me an opening to say, hey, Bill, I just took on another commercial real estate this week, and it's got a Dollar General, some other stuff in it. But you know, my plan is I'm going to figure out how to double side that thing. If I don't, I'm happy to share it with another agent. But if I can increase the value during that one transaction, it's not that I'm just going by a wing. It's that I just want to make the most of what it is that I'm doing, right? And so I'm right now about 35% in the commercial market, and then the rest is in the residential market. And you know, we're doing 900 to 8, anywhere from photography varies because it just is, but we're doing anywhere from $900 to $1,800 a day in the real estate photography. So which is a great little side thing that just keeps pumping, and it's growing to do that. So, but I told my wife, and I want you guys to understand this right quick before I let you go, is the same thing is I use her as my accountability partner. I say, honey, if you see me going crazy and spending too much time away from our family, please keep me in check. So, because that tells me that I'm just out there chasing more and more and more. It's hard when people are driven because you see yourself and you know that you can take this. Like the first 6 months of photography, I thought, man, I can do $100,000 in no time at this. And so I started doing it. And then all of a sudden my wife was like, I'm keeping you in check, man, because we're not even seeing you. And I'm like, that is not what I want. And so I just said, instead of doing this in 1 year, I'm going to break this out over 3 years. And I slowed the growth down a little bit because I didn't have the system to handle the growth. Right. So I just needed to recreate some stuff in there. So keep it good there. I want to tell you one other really great thing to do if you're looking at getting into commercial real estate is start talking to other commercial real estate agents, see where their buyers are at, see where their people are at, and then go find them properties and then be happy to share that with them. I was talking to an agent. I said, hey, you got buyers that are looking for something? And what's your hardest thing right now? And he says, Bill, I got an agent right now. I got a buyer right now that has 30 days to get rid of 1031 exchange money. He's willing to go up to $1.5 million. And I said, I'm going to look and see if I can find you something. So I had friends that owned companies and buildings that were investors. And I started calling around. I called one guy and I says, hey, 3 years ago, you said something about maybe starting to get out of sell your building off. Going to do. I got a buyer that'll possibly buy it and close it in 30 days. It's 1031 exchange. Once he identifies it, the deal's done. It's a sure deal. And literally that's how I sold his business for him. So, but it was because I went and asked another agent if he had something that somebody was looking for. And so I just go in and try to see if I can help him out. Right. So I don't have to be doing all these things, but just help solve problems for people and do it. And then go, don't be afraid to make phone calls, ask and see. Um, but start slow with that whole thing, man. I'm telling you, because you do not want to dive into something and then watch your residential crash in any of this stuff. You got to watch it.
That's exactly what your wife said. Just ask questions a few minutes ago on the live feed. So that's exactly what she said, is what you said. So you guys are thinking alike. I like being able to spot check at home. I partner with a lot of husband and wife teams actually in the game. And I know she's tied in, very close with what you got going on. So being conscious enough as entrepreneurs and as go-getters to stop and just like, hey, let me know if too much is too much. And maybe we can work on the time management piece to that. So you can keep the main thing, which is the family piece of that. Right. So, and I know she's a go-getter too. So that's awesome that you guys are checking in with that. And, when I referenced networking a lot when I was younger, I pick and choose my networking now because of like whether it's an owner, you never know what you're going into. And I know you guys done a lot of networking. And so how do you look at networking today? As like when you got started out, some people were like, Adam, don't never network anymore. It's like, I network a lot, but my network had changed. And so some rooms just ain't worth me being in anymore. Right. Or whatever. And so it's like, how do you look at networking and getting out, meeting some of these new people organically the way that you do it versus when you started out? And do you pick and choose your spots, or do you not do it as much anymore because your network's already built and it's more strategic? And how you run into people, just maybe answer that one real quick. I know I threw one in, a curveball,
no, okay.
But I think this one's important for just me personally.
So my days are filled by my calendar. So it's when people are booking stuff for me for photography, they have access to my calendar, and so they book it in like that. That's how I make it so simple for that. So, but what I have to do is, the most valuable thing I have right now is for everybody that's driving stuff is my time, and so I have to use my time wisely on the things that we're trying to do. So when it comes to networking, I mean, I don't go to like networking groups anymore. Not that I dislike them. I've thought about going to one coming up because I like some of the beliefs that they have and what they're trying to do, the purpose behind the meeting. But my thing is I remember I've like this agent I called not too long this past year. I hadn't seen him in 5 years, right? And so we were doing something, and I remember I see his signs up everywhere, and so I just pick up the phone and call, and just see how things are going with him. It's great to talk to these people because these guys that are really busy, they're going to tell you what they're doing. Because what is it that people like to do? They like to talk about themselves a lot, and so they'll tell you the things that they're doing, and then you get to hear some of these things. And I don't think it's not bad if you learn to ask good questions for people. You'll pull out the information and extract it. So as far as me for networking with people, it's really just learning to have conversation, know your audience. When you're out somewhere, if you're at a party, or I don't go to parties anymore, Adam. I think I'll tell you guys one other thing is Adam will relate to this is get rid of the distractions in your life. I mean, the alcohol, all these things, these parties and all this stuff, these are distractions for me. And so I want to be clear-minded on why I'm at an event, right? So if I'm in an event
with intention and a purpose, and that's what I've been recently telling someone that I'm helping, and it's like the drinking or the networking or the random people coming and going. First, what you could have got done if you were sitting down, laser focused, creating more inbound versus outbound, thinking it's going to be freely or somebody's going to connect you with someone else. And so I was just wondering, because you mentioned that earlier on, being networking, and so it's a lot more strategic because your time is worth what? That's exactly what I'm saying. That, and only you know that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I can't, it's stuff you can't get back. And it's not that you don't have time for people. It's not at all. It's just being more laser focused on utilizing that space correctly. And so, but I think it really is just when you're somewhere, know who you're around. If you're at a, so here's another great example. So I just went to the city one day and to the city hall, and I went down to the guy planning and zoning, And I said, hey, what's going on in our community right now that I don't know about? Right. And he said, well, these things are coming into town, these things are doing, and these things are doing, right. And so I was like, man, so do people already have places they're going in for this? So I was just going to those spots and talk to them. And I said, hey, if you see somebody come through, don't be afraid to mention my name if somebody needs help finding a location or filling in some of these spots. But I would see that these things are coming up. And then I could go, if I'm talking to people, I'd say, hey, did you hear this is coming into town or whatever, if it's around other business owners. And then it gets a conversation going also with other business owners on stuff. So really just keeping up on what's happening and those things. So, but those commercial guys are not married to a lot of to individual people. A lot of times there's some that they love to use them, and you're not trying to steal somebody for somebody. It's just, they're looking at, hey, who's going to improve my bottom dollar here? Who's going to do this and do, but so it's just like looking at how do you add to your business to go to diversify it. Look at where your pool is already at. So if I'm in real estate already and I'm doing good at residential and I want to add something with commercial, just start having conversations with other commercial agents, be where they're at on stuff, because there's a whole nother world in commercial. Like they're not on our MLS, a lot of them, they're on CoStar, LoopNet, these kind of things. And so you got to learn these things about, hey, what are you seeing in the market today? They don't know how much you do on something like that. But that's the networking I enjoy, because I get instant, usually determined by the questions I ask, I can get the responses I want. Right. So I don't know if that makes total sense, but it's where we're at.
Yeah, no, it's like your quality of life is going to be in direct proportion with the quality of questions that you can answer or ask. And I love that. And it's so true. And you said something in the beginning of that stuck with me, and kind of like different things I could be going through and as a young leader and push them forward. It's like the power is in the responder and how you respond to stuff. And then that is so powerful. It's how we respond to stuff. It's how we look at stuff. It's how we, question where we could be wrong. How could we look at things differently? And it's like, the guy taught me, read a book, and it's like, we always think we're right. We always think we want to be number one. Like you kind of started out. And it's like, now when I'm entering into something, it's like, I'm looking at it and also letting them know, like, look, I could be wrong. And it's like, I'm wrong a lot. And it's like, let me see where I'm wrong, what I'm missing, because we all have blind spots and perceptions and different vantage points and stuff like that. So, dude, you killed it today. You brought it, and we went a little bit over. I just want to say thank you for hopping on here. I know your time's valuable between the residential stuff, the commercial stuff, between photography, being a husband and a father and all that stuff, man. How can people connect with you? You're a Facebook guy, social media guy, what's the way people follow you?
Yeah, Facebook would be just fine. So Facebook's a easy way. I'm on Instagram also with our photography thing. I'm not on there much for real estate stuff, but Facebook is a good way. So you can message me through there, and I'm happy to answer some questions for somebody too. So.
All right, guys, I got to go get my son off the bus. It was blowing me up if you heard my FaceTime going off. So my 8-year-old, Dad. But Bill, you're the man. Bill Brown, guys, follow him, hit him up. Thank you, Bill. Appreciate you.
All right. Thank you, guys. Have a great day.
All right. Thanks.